I had everything I needed to be happy in my own mind, but I never had focus. My grandmother always said I needed a sense of direction, that I had a wandering heart. And this is true. If it's flashy, I'm on it. I'm like that squirrel. And I guess the allure for me is if it looks good or it feels good, it is good. Which is not always the case, which got me into trouble later in life. My life began with a number. I was actually adopted from Russia. I was 10 months old, and my mother, she popped me out, and I was the 13th kid, according to records, which I always thought that was cool. I didn't understand how weird that was until I was older. But I had a number for 3 months of my life, and then they gave me this weird Russian name, which I'm not going to tell you. It's too weird. And then I was adopted by my mother and father. I will always call them my mother and father. I was brought to America, and I grew up in this small little town. We had more places in this town to buy tractors than you could get gas. Springville. I went to an elementary school with, I think we had a graduating class of 45 kids before it got melded into our middle school, and ultimately in high school graduated with about 130. But it was still weird. I couldn't fit in. But I didn't know this until later in life. I literally didn't know that I didn't fit in. I found out my teachers thought I was going to end up becoming a druggie, but I didn't. I found art, and I had this wonderful teacher, this art teacher, who showed me God. At that time, I was very egotistical. It was all about me. I had never learned the social interaction skills to fit someone else in my life, and I lost a few friends because of it. But then I started following the Word of God, and in my mind I became awesome. I was fine. My life was going to be great. And my original plan leaving high school was to attend Arizona State University for business. They were the 12th in the nation for business. But those plans didn't work. I was going to move my business from Buffalo down there to Phoenix. It never worked. Once again, I fell victim to my own lack of direction, and I was in some pretty bad circumstances, and I ended up doing illegal things to raise money because I owed a debt to someone that I shouldn't have. And I partied my college days away. I would get up, smoke some weed, go to class, smoke some weed, then I'd go party. And sometimes I was proud of myself. I thought it was cool that I could ace a macroeconomics test stoned out of my mind. But it clouded my vision. It really knocked me down. And what hurt the most is the last 2 years of my high school I had spent following the Word of God that I had learned from my art teacher. And I really messed that up. But there was this time I was walking across the street. It was 2:30 in the morning, and I checked my phone. I was supposed to be meeting someone to drop off something I had in my backpack, and my phone background was a picture of myself and the girl I was with at the time. And it just hurt because it was 2,000 miles away, and I'm from a little farm town, and here I am walking across the street with a pound of marijuana in my backpack. And I had skipped class that day. I remember I went to a place called DP Doe's. I ended up getting some calzones. But it hit me, and I had a month left till I had come home, and it just hit me. I was like, what are you doing with your life? And the question was too big for me. I really had no idea what I was doing. I was just lost in the fact that I was in a place where you could party like you could in the movies. I mean, I had G-Eazy at my birthday party in this mansion with people. This guy literally threw $20,000 in the air, and it like rained down on this crowd, and I was like, whoa. And I remember watching it, and at that time, part of me said, wow, that's really cool, and the other half said, Mom's probably at home doing laundry right now, because I know she stays up late. And this paradox I was living, it wasn't working. It was tearing me apart. And I didn't know what to do. I came home on May 9th, 2016. And I remember I was driving about a mile from my house, and it was the first time I'd seen my house in like 3 months. And I was listening to Drake's Summer 16. And I'm like thinking, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And I had no idea what life had in store for me at that time. I was just coming home. I didn't want to go back to school. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I had the tent business and I had my family. So I set up tents and told my dad that I would take the business and be self-employed. And so far we have bounced back and forth between yes and no at least 15 times. But what really brought me home was church. I walked back into the art room to go visit my old art teacher, and she asked how college went, and I said, I can't talk about it yet. And she gave me a hug and handed me the Bible, and I opened it up, and the first thing I read was, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened." And the funny thing is I ended up having the same thoughts I did of someone else that I watched in a video who had read the same thing. It's the lead singer of Korn, and he ended up thinking the same thing. It says, I'm weary, I'm burdened, and I had no answers, because my answers in college were drugs and rock and roll and fast cars. And there's a lot of rich people out there. I was involved in the club scene very heavily. I thought it was cool, everyone knew me. I had access to all the concerts. I could get you the best drugs instantly, but that wasn't life. It wasn't me. Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest.